again, everyone, to another episode of the Movie Theater Lobby. I'm Brandon.
And I'm Leia.
And this week we have another What You Did Say episode style.
Yeah. I mean, you could have just shortened it to that.
I could.
Yeah.
Epistyle. There we go. This was almost a fix it style episode.
Almost. But then you had a bigger heart than I did.
I changed lanes a little bit. This episode is on Weapons, the very, very recent 2025 horror release, when the trailers were released. Boy, was I excited.
You were so excited.
I was
and when
flipping out.
Came out in the theaters even, you were like, oh my God, we got to go see it this
opening weekend.
We got to go. Yeah.
The trailers were dark. They were ominous. They were mysterious. They
Something
gave you
a little different.
Yeah. They gave you the impression of this very intriguing, dark mystery.
Yeah. Where all these kids disappear.
The trailer gave you one very distinct impression.
They did.
The movie itself gave you a very different. The other reason I was super excited is because it was Zack Krieger who wrote and directed this one. And previous to this, he did Barbarian, which is probably one of my favorite movies of 2022 as a whole. So I figured, okay, Barbarian, super great movie. Loved the mystery, loved the storytelling in that one. Boy, did that second half just shock the shit out of me. I had no expectation of that second half would turn out the way it did. So going into this movie, I was like, oh, great legacy. Let's see what Zack's going to throw at us this time.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to walk through this movie. This whole thing's going to be spoiled for you. So anyone who has not seen Weapons yet and does not want it spoiled for you, please jump ship right now. We're not going to blame you.
No. As much as I have issues with this film, I still think you should go see it.
Yeah.
And come up with an opinion of your own.
Because
it could be completely different. You could love it. I don't know. A lot of people did.
A lot of people are loving it.
So whatever. Go see it. Yes, don't let us ruin it for you.
Yes. Before we get started, I am going to say that this film has to be looked at in two different ways. Because there's the way that Zack Krieger had written it and intended it to be, and then the way we view it as a viewer. In interviews, I saw him speaking. He was saying this movie is not social commentary. It's not about violence in the classroom. This film was actually inspired by his experience around alcoholism and the grief and loss and tragedy of a friend of his. Zack Krieger was in a comedy troupe called The Whitest Kids You Know.
2007.
Not super, super popular, but definitely popular enough. And his friend Trevor Moore, one of the group of founders of The Whitest Kids You Know, had fallen off of his balcony in Los Angeles and died. Again, alcohol played its part in this whole deal. Zack Krieger initially sat down to write this story as a way of his grieving and his dealing with this very, very, very personal loss. The characters in this film, the situations in this film, are all symbols and allegory for his grief, his loss, his dealing.
Which is wonderful.
Yeah,
I feel like
wonderful.
Arts like this is the perfect place for that.
Yeah, this is actually the exact way to deal with those emotions in an artistic way.
Absolutely.
So from that perspective, this film...
Even if it didn't do great, it would have been good for him to do it.
Yes.
Cathartic, for his mental
absolutely.
State. Yeah.
Once you know that, this film comes off a bit differently because he intended for every main character to be like an aspect of a different emotion that he went through when dealing with this tragedy.
And I remember when we were watching it, both of us were like, none of these characters are likable.
Right.
At all. Yeah. And then after you found out what, kind of the impetus was for some of these characters, then you were like, oh.
Yeah, I understand it a bit more.
You aren't supposed to love them.
Because it's all people dealing with addiction of various types.
Yes.
A lot of times people in the throes of addiction are not likable.
Well, most of the time they aren't.
Right. Looking at it from that perspective, okay, this film has a different take on it, but we want to examine this film from the perspective of the audience who doesn't know this story about Zack Krieger, because we didn't.
We didn't. And when I first watched it, I had a much different opinion.
Right. So we're going to look at it from that lens. Again, from the fact that this is an artistic, emotional expression of Zack Krieger, very personal, I understand what he was going for. Mm-hmm. I get it. It doesn't make me like the film any better, but I respect it and understand it from that perspective.
Sure.
Now, let's get into it from a storytelling perspective.
Let's.
Okay? So we start with a narration. A child is giving us kind of an overview of the events that lead into this film. And I got to say, the opening narration and the opening cinematic presentation, Totally solid.
Yeah.
Loved it. Started off with a friggin' bang.
Solid start.
The child tells you that, this is a true story from their town 2 years ago. So this is a child from 2 years post the event. The child mentions how you won't find it in the news anywhere because the people in charge of the town, they were embarrassed that they couldn't figure it out, so they covered it up. It seems a little far-fetched being that the FBI was involved. The story would have gotten out at some point. But taking it at face value, okay.
That's what happened.
That's what happened. A teacher named Mrs. Justine Gandy arrived to school one morning, just as any other morning, to find her classroom empty, save for one child.
Mm-hmm.
This child's name was Alex Lilly. The other 17 children the night before woke up, got out of bed, through the front door, and all left their house into the dark. Some of these kids tripped house alarms, which is how police and authorities understand this was about 2:17 in the morning. Plus, doorbell cameras caught some of these children leaving their houses and going off into the darkness. Mm-hmm. But that's the basic premise. So we get this montage of all these kids running out. Everything's going great so far. Still liking this movie very much from the first time I saw it.
Still like, what's going on?
Super good mystery.
Yeah.
And I do have to say, there's a very important line that is said in the opening. At 2:17 in the morning, every other kid woke up, got out of bed, walked downstairs, opened the front door, walked across the front yard and into the dark. And they never came back.
They never came back, guys.
And they never came back.
Remember that.
Leia, and they never came back.
Yeah, sure.
Let us please remember that line. We are told
at the very beginning,
even the 5-minute mark, they never came back. Don't lie to me before the 3-minute mark.
Right. I didn't even know it was a lie.
Right.
Anyway.
So, Leia.
Yes.
I'm going to reiterate this one more time.
Yes.
And I'm going to ask you a question.
Okay.
When you hear the words, they never came back,
mm-hmm.
do you expect to see the kids again?
No.
Uh-huh.
But I will say it could have meant that they never mentally came back.
Okay. Spoiler alert. At the end of the movie, the narrator comes back again and says, some of the kids are even talking again. Mm. This excuse falls down on every level.
Well, I'm just playing devil's advocate here because I hated it.
Yes.
So
after that narration finishes, we get the title, the word weapons lit up in blue against a black background. And there's a triangle that shows up in the O of weapons.
Mm-hmm.
Now, for those people who know, starting in the 1950s, Alcoholics Anonymous used the symbol of a circle with a triangle in the center of it as their organization's symbol.
Interesting.
Now, they did discontinue using that officially in the 1990s. Zack Krieger has never said that's precisely why he put that triangle in this circle for weapons, but being that this film is an allegory for alcoholism, it makes sense. We get another bit of narration. Alex was investigated, Mrs. Gandy was investigated, their homes were investigated, the community and law enforcement in general were all looking for answers. And then we get a kick to a month after the event. In the school where the class went missing, the town has been brought together here with counselors on hand to kind of speak to the community and find ways to heal, to come together.
A month after?
A month after, yeah. So obviously the very irate parents in the crowd, they're very accusatory toward Mrs. Justine Gandy, the teacher of the class. And they say, we want to hear from her. She knows something. She's not talking. She's got answers and we know it.
Very witch.
Yeah, it is very much a witch hunt.
A witch hunt,
and that theme will play throughout.
Right.
Mrs. Gandy gets up and she tries to be empathetic, sympathetic. She's very sad and distraught. She wants answers as well. Yeah. She doesn't have them. The crowd boos her, calls her a liar, calls her out. And she is then escorted out of the building by the principal of the school. His name is Marcus, and some other staff on hand to kind of keep her safe. She is told by one of the staff members to lay low, stay out of the public eye, do yourself a favor, do the community a favor, stay low. Just let things cool down.
I would have left.
I probably would have left.
I would have just left.
Honestly, I would have gone somewhere to stay.
Yeah, permanently. I would have left.
Mrs. Gandy gets in her car, and rather than going home, she stops off at the liquor store.
Before you even know who she is or what her history is, you look at that and you go, okay, yeah, I mean, she needs to fucking relax.
Yeah.
She's stressed.
Yeah.
And some people don't know how to cope.
Yeah. I don't blame her character for going to get something to drink. A lot of people would in that instance. Whether you're an alcoholic or a casual drinker,
that's a lot of stress to be under.
Yeah. It can be a way to de-stress, to let yourself go. Leia, you and I, we have had much alcohol in our lives.
Much.
I have not had alcohol for over 2 years. It's just not something we partake in. I'm not fully against alcohol.
I drink a beer here and there with friends, but it's rare.
I don't have a place for it for me.
I physically can't do it anymore.
Yeah, that's also true. I'm too old for the recovery takes too long.
It's too exhausting. I can't do it.
And I'm not one of those people that's ever had alcohol just for the taste of it. Some people do. That's great. I'm not really a fan anymore. Justine Gandy's pouring herself a drink from her recently purchased alcohol when she hears a doorbell. Okay, she goes and inspects. Nobody's outside. She goes back to having her drink, and all of a sudden, a rapid knock at the front door. Scares the shit out of her, just as it probably would you or I. She shouts a little bit, and she goes and checks, and nobody's there again, so she gets a flashlight, goes outside, looks around. There's nobody even down the street. It's completely silent outside. It's nighttime. She does notice, however, witch has been painted across her driver's side car in red paint. I don't particularly like this little bit of foreshadowing because, okay, yes, you mentioned before the community is kind of pointing at her as sort of a witch hunt.
Yeah, she's a scapegoat. They need somebody They need somebody to blame it on, and she's the easiest target. Well, and why didn't it say murderer? It could have said any other thing, like, bitch or, kidnapper or,
something. Instead, it's witch, because...
So that wouldn't have been the first thing I'd have thought to put on someone's car.
So I didn't like that. But taken at face value, this is only the second time we've heard the word witch come up. So next we see Justine. She is in the principal's office talking to the principal of her school named Marcus. He's informing her about her benefits now that she's having to take a forced leave of absence. And she just kind of expresses to him, I'm sorry, but I need to work. I need to do something to fill my time. I can't just sit with this. At this point, I feel sympathetic for her.
Absolutely.
Entirely.
Yeah.
I feel sorry for her that she has to go through this. The wild speculation of the community. He says, I'm sorry, you just can't be here. Once again, he advises her just for the health of the community, do yourself a favor, do them a favor, stay out of the public eye. And she says, well, how's Alex? And she insists she wants to talk to Alex. She says, I would feel better. And Marcus interrupts her and says, there you go.
There it is.
You're not worried about the child. You're worried about you. Stop thinking about yourself. Think about the community. Stay out of the public eye. Then he goes to continue on her lack of understanding of boundary.
Yeah, with kids and like taking kids for rides.
Because he says, hugging students is not professional. She says, well, the child was crying. Now, in my children's school, I've seen my children give their teachers a hug.
Yeah, it's not a full-on, but it's like,
it's kind of a side
hug.
Yeah, and if a child is crying, I don't know, I sort of would expect the teacher would probably attempt to console
or at least,
a child.
Rub their back a little bit. Like, it's okay. Yeah.
I don't see that as crossing a line. Maybe some people would. He then goes on to say, you drove a student home.
That's weird.
That's a little weird.
I would be upset.
She says, well, the child missed her bus and she lived nearby. Yeah, that seems like
if I knew the teacher, it'd be different.
Yeah. She goes to the police station to report the graffiti on her car. And when she does so, she sees another police officer that apparently she knows. She smiles and waves at him, and he kind of reluctantly kind of smiles and waves back. And next, we see her at a bar. She's told to lay low. She's in a bar in a community where a bunch of people really dislike her.
And she's drinking.
Why would you go to a place?
Everybody's getting crunk.
Everyone's getting drunk, and emotions flare. Yes. When people drink.
Yes.
Okay, she's just trying to live her life. I get it. But again, she's not thinking about anybody except her.
There's this little birdie in the back of my head that's like, this woman's kind of stupid.
Yeah. The police officer that she waved at earlier walks into the bar. Mm-hmm. We come to find out his name is Paul. And she says, oh, I'm surprised you showed up. I didn't expect you actually would. And he goes, well, yeah.
We're still friends.
Yeah, we're still friends.
Yeah.
I've been thinking about you a lot lately. So he sits down and she tries to order him a drink. And the bartender comes over. No. He says, I'll have a Coke. And she goes, really?
You're not going to drink with me?
Accusatory.
Yeah.
They must have been friends at some sort. You get the impression that they've had some sort of relationship in the past, friendly or whatever. You'd expect that she would know that he perhaps had a problem with alcohol. Now, it's not revealed to us until later that he is recovering from alcohol, but he's abstaining very hard from alcohol in this particular moment.
Yes.
And she continues to press the issue and press the issue. And then she even asks, oh, hey, how's Donna? Knowing that he's in a relationship, likely married. And he says, well, we're not really happening right now. She continues to talk about how the town views her as a witch. Now, this theme of witch keeps coming up. Let the mystery rest for a little bit. We're not even probably 15 minutes into this movie, and you've already told me this film's about witches. Fucking stop.
Yeah.
Okay? Save it for the end. Save some mystery.
I will say at this point, I'm starting to not like Justine so much.
Yeah.
And I'm starting to think that this cop was a really nice guy.
Yeah.
At this point, right now.
Yes.
I'm like, wow, this cop is a really nice guy.
Yeah.
He's getting a raw end of the deal. Justine's, she's kind of a bitch. So I'm getting like these weird vibes.
While they're talking, he even says, I hope you didn't drive here. And she goes, why? He goes, because you're drinking. I'm a cop.
Yeah.
And you're going to be driving home. I hope you're not drinking and driving. So he is really extolling the non-virtues.
Yeah. And
of
her
alcohol.
eyes are rolling and she doesn't want to hear any of it.
She continues to pressure him to have alcohol. In the next scene, it's morning time. She starts playing a song, and we find out that Paul is waking up in her bed.
Which at the time we're like, all right, like, okay, good whatever. For you, Paul. I get it. Yeah. Like, whatever.
That's his personal business, not mine. I'm not going to judge somebody for having an affair because whatever. It's not my business. But he's obviously looking hungover, which means she convinced him to drink. Now you're feeling even worse about Justine because now she has convinced a recovering alcoholic to drink, and both of their fault for agreeing to sex. But you're like, wow,
she's shady.
Yeah, it just seems more and more and more that the only person she thinks about is herself.
Yeah.
And she accuses the police of not doing anything to find these kids. And he continues to say, listen, I'm not an investigator. I can't tell you anything about this case. Leave the investigation to the investigators. Once again, somebody else is telling her, lay low. So after she drops him off, what's the very first thing she does? She stalks Alex.
Yeah, literally stalks
Alex. Literally stalks him. She follows the bus to where it drops him off to watch where his house is.
Yep.
She sees him go into the house. Then she starts pounding on the front door. Nobody answers. So she starts walking the perimeter of the house. Boy, oh boy, is she crossing so many lines because she is so self-consumed.
Which makes so much more sense after you tell me about the director's vision.
Alcohol, because it's very alcoholic personality. Yeah. Now, I've grown up around a lot of alcoholics. When I was young...
We still have alcoholics around us.
Still have a lot of alcoholics. So when I was young, I had a stepfather who was alcoholic. He was physically abusive. He was mentally and verbally abusive. Mm-hmm. Complete asshat. I have aunts and uncles who were alcoholic, and I saw abuses happen in their home and outside of their home. I have other family members who are alcoholics, and I've seen the terrible toll that all that takes.
Yeah. But you're describing somebody
who's very much in the throes of addiction, this addiction controlling their life.
Yeah, the self-centeredness. Yeah.
So again, like you said, it makes sense once you understand this film is about alcoholism.
Yeah, where it comes from.
But when you're watching as a viewer,
you're like,
watching
what the
a story
hell's wrong
unfold,
with this woman?
You're like, I just don't like this woman.
Yeah, she's terrible.
Can she have disappeared with the children too? She ends up following Alex to his home, which I do have to admit, I need to point this out right now. It is not a secluded little out-of-the-way home. In fact, it's at the middle of a cross street of a very populated suburban neighborhood. Mm-hmm. There's houses all the way down the street leading up to the cross street. There's houses on both sides.
So it's like a T. House. So he's at the end of the T.
I just need everyone to understand that there is a lot between this house and all the children who went missing. Mm-hmm. She's peering inside this house and she sees two adults sitting on a couch. And it freaks her out, obviously.
The house is dark.
She's looking through the window.
Just so you know, she didn't go in yet.
The windows have all been papered over with newspaper.
Yeah, it's weird newspaper all over the windows.
So she freaks out. Obviously, probably I would too. I'd be a little startled. She leaves. Probably the first smart thing she's ever done. And she calls Marcus and says, hey, you need to get CPS over there.
And they're all like, you followed him to his house?
Yeah. And he's flabbergasted. He's like, I told you to lay low. I told you to leave the kid alone. Yeah. You're putting me in a very jeopardized situation. Yourself in a jeopardized situation.
She's like, forget about that. You need to go out there. And I totally get where she's coming from in that aspect.
Yeah,
I mean, yes, okay, but you shouldn't have been out there.
Yeah.
She's probably thinking in her head, it's a good thing I did go out there.
And she goes, why were their windows papered over? Isn't that weird? He goes, well, maybe it's because people keep sneaking over to their property and looking through their windows.
Okay.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
They want their privacy. We get a dream sequence that Justine goes through. This is the very first time this movie fell down for me. She's walking down the silent, empty, low-lit, dark hallways of her school, and she goes into her classroom. In the classroom, it's full of students at their desks, but all their heads are down. She looks over to the back row where Alex, the one child who didn't disappear, is sitting. And he raises his head up. He's got a pale white face, red around his lips, and kind of blue around his eyes. That would be a very creepy image in your dream. And she startles herself awake. And in her bed, she kind of looks around the room a little bit. It's still dark. She lies back down, and up above her on the ceiling is this woman with a giant, poofy red hair and the same sort of patterned makeup. Red around the lips, blue around the eyes, scowling at her and reaching at her. And then she wakes up again. So it was a dream within a dream situation. Sure. Now, Leia, we know this is Gladys because we've seen the movie.
Yeah.
This is why Alex had that makeup on, because it's an impression of Gladys. Watching it the first time, we didn't know who it was. Mystery woman. Okay, great. But Leia, to this point in the film, when has Justine seen Gladys?
She hasn't.
She hasn't.
No.
Right.
But this wasn't a plot point for me. If she was really a witch, maybe she's implanting herself in her dreams.
I agree with you. Okay. Justine's never seen Gladys, so there's no reason for her to be there. Like you said, okay, maybe it's witch magic. Gladys is doing everything in her power for nobody to know who she is.
Maybe she wants her to know who she is.
Why?
Because she's part of the whole intrigue.
Gladys knows nothing about Justine at this point, other than Justine is the teacher whose classroom this happened to. It's just nonsensical storytelling for the sake of a jump scare. So once again, Gandhi goes back to stalking Alex.
As you do.
As she does. She actually confronts him this time, and Alex says, just leave me alone. Everyone is telling her to leave Alex alone. Everybody.
Including Alex.
Including Alex. She chases Alex to his home and again pounds on the door. No answer again, so she decides to wait in her car.
Like a stalker, like a real stalker.
Falls asleep. We see the front door open, and a woman stumbles out holding a pair of scissors, gets into the backseat of Justine's car, snips a lock of hair, and walks back into the house. And then we cut away, and now we get a story interlude with Archer.
Yeah, it's cut into like segments, the film is.
Yes.
So it talks about Justine, and now it's going to talk about Archer.
Yeah. So now Archer, he wakes up in his son's bed. He watches footage of his son leaving in the morning at 2:17 a.m. You can tell he's very obsessed with this whole disappearance, as he should be. So at work, he's told, hey, the ordering went wrong. You messed up 2 orders now. This door was supposed to be green. We got red paint instead. Archer says, okay, I'll return the red paint. So he puts it in his truck. Archer goes to the police station to see if he can get some more information about the case. I'm sure he probably does this pretty regularly to stay up to date on whatever.
Some parents need a,
And I understand that. No new leads. He asks, what about an update on the canine units? Now, Leia, if you're telling me that a canine unit cannot find 1, let alone 17 children who didn't physically disappear. They physically ran across town. They went in mostly a straight line, because that's this enchantment does.
Mm-hmm.
You're telling me canine units couldn't track not even 1 of 17 children across town in a mostly straight line? I've heard news reports of canines doing more amazing things than that.
Witch magic.
Okay. They don't fly. They don't cover themselves. They just physically run across town. Now we get a recap of the school meeting that we saw in the opening, this time from Archer's perspective. Now Archer, he decides to follow Justine Gandhi, so he sees her go into the liquor store. He follows her to her home. This is when we find out that he's the one responsible for painting witch on the side of her car.
With the red paint.
With the red paint. He goes back home. Now he has a dream. He's looking through his house for his son Matthew. He sees Matthew leave the house in his dream, just as he did in the footage. And he chases Matthew across town in his dream. Ends up back at his own front door. And we see above his home a giant assault rifle that displays the digital clock time of 2:17. Now, this assault rifle has nothing to do with anything.
WTF? What?
Because there was no shooting. This is not an allegory for school violence. This is just a man who had a dream about an assault rifle over a house that displayed the time of 2:17. They have no reason to believe the children are dead, just missing. I mean, sure, you could suspect that probably after a month, chances are very slim that they're still alive. But you have no reason to believe guns were at play. Anyway, fine, moving past that. He goes up to his child's bedroom in his dream. He sees his child lying in his bed, eyes open, completely unresponsive, and he's like, where are you? Where are you? Please tell me where you are. I wish I said I loved you more often while I had the chance. Okay, it's a very grieving father. You feel sympathy for Archer. He's a father who lost his child and has no answers. Everything's just complete mystery. And all of a sudden, Gladys's face shows up in the bed. Now, Leia, when has Archer met Gladys? Oh, never. She's showing up in dreams. No reason, no precedence, nothing to insinuate she has magical dream powers. Again, it's just for jump scare. It doesn't make any narrative sense. So the next day, outside his home, he sees a radio tower off in the distance. He realizes that's the direction his child ran. Okay, he has a thought. Let me triangulate where my child ran versus the trajectory of other children who disappeared. So he goes to another home where a child disappeared from. and looks at their footage and then triangulates that child's movements to his own, draws a line across town, and this is a clear across town distance. His house is on one end of town. The house in question is on the other end of town. And he gets kind of a circle as to where he thinks the children may have ended up. Now, no other investigator plotted where these children disappeared from and possibly where they may have gone to based on the trajectory that the video cameras showed. You're also going to tell me that these children who ran across town didn't get picked up by other doorbell cameras or other front yard cameras. They also ran through backyards and front yards. There's no other lights that would have gone on, no other cameras that would have caught him in the backyard, no business cameras, no traffic cameras, nothing.
It was witch cloaking magic.
We're going to go with that. So this witch has all the power to cloak them from other cameras except for the cameras on their own front doors. Right. As he's driving across town trying to figure out where these children went to, he sees a gas station where Mrs. Gandy's car pulls in, and he knows her car because he painted witch on it. And then he confronts her. He's like, hey, we need to talk. And she's like, I don't think so. And blah, blah, blah. They're arguing back and forth. And all of a sudden, in the distance, Justine sees Marcus running at her with his arms.
Marcus is the principal.
Running at her with his arms out to the side. His face is bloody. His eyes are popped out. He's super disheveled. And he is on a direct beeline for her. He tackles her, and Archer actually ends up coming to Justine's defense. Now, he wasn't there to assault her.
He's a bad guy, but he's not there to assault anybody.
Yes. Yeah. He's an upset father.
Yeah.
He's not necessarily a bad guy, right?
He's mad.
He
wants
mad
answers.
And frustrated.
Yeah.
He just wants answers.
Yeah.
So he has a tussle with Marcus, and we cut away again, and we get Paul.
At this point, still?
Yeah.
Like Paul. I'm like, all right, sweet.
Yeah.
It's a Paul story.
Point, still on Paul's side. Let's figure out what's going on with Paul.
Not only is he pretty cool, but he's handsome.
We start with Paul in the police officer's locker room. And he's talking on the phone to Donna, his partner. Now, they never explicitly say wife or girlfriend or fiance or whatever. She's talking to him about how she's out of town, but she'll be coming back early, and she'll be back in time for the weekend to go to her parents' anniversary lunch. There's no sense of a relationship trouble. She's excited to talk to him.
Yeah.
No sense of them being on the rocks.
I get no impression that they are fighting at all.
Except for the fact that he seems really bored with her.
Maybe it's him.
When he told Justine in the bar that they're not really happening right now, maybe that's just his perspective and his version
the story.
Of it.
Yeah.
So maybe he's not such a good guy after all. But anyway, he goes in and talks to the police chief and says, hey, we'll be able to make it to your anniversary. Okay, 2 and 2 together, the father of his partner, Donna. So Paul goes on patrol, ends up seeing this kind of greasy-haired kid running across town and ducking down an alley. Now, the greasy-haired guy, will notice from earlier in the film, he was outside the liquor store asking Justine for money, saying that he needed bus fare to go see his brother. And Paul chases the kid through town, tackles him. While he's patting the guy down, he ends up getting stuck with a needle in the guy's pocket. This enrages Paul. Paul clocks the guy, knocks him out in one hit. He's like, oh shit, my dash cam.
Yeah.
So apparently, Leia, there are cameras all over this town except for where the kids ran to.
Yeah.
Witch magic, as you say. Once the suspected criminal comes to, Paul says, hey, look.
My bad.
You did me wrong. I did you wrong. Let's just leave, call it a day. But if I see you again, there's trouble. Paul goes back to the station, tells the chief, hey, this is what happened. The police chief says, okay, listen, keep your nose clean for a month. If the crime doesn't get reported in a month, it'll be recorded over. We won't have to worry about it anymore.
The footage on the camera. Yeah.
Now we get a shot of Paul back at the bar where he meets Justine that we saw earlier. We see him have some alcohol. We see him fuck Justine. We cut back to he arrives home. His wife is home sooner than expected.
Yeah, and she's understandably upset.
And she starts to realize what just happened.
She ain't stupid.
She puts 2 and 2 together.
You've been drinking.
He's been drinking.
You've been sleeping all around on me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now he goes back to work for yet another shift. He's downtrodden. His life just sort of fell apart in one night. And as he's leaving for patrol again, he sees that druggy guy again.
He's like, oh no,
he's like, hey,
not today.
What did I tell you? And then he takes off. Okay, now we cut away and we get the story of James. We find out James is the name of that druggy guy.
Yeah.
He's in his tent, kind of outside of town. He's shirtless. It's raining. He's desperately going through all of his belongings looking for a home.
All his tinfoils.
Yeah.
To try to find something.
To find something.
Scrape it off.
Yes.
Anything.
With nothing on hand to get high, he starts walking across town. While he's walking, he's talking on the phone to somebody. It doesn't really matter.
Asking for money or whatever, yeah.
Making up
Help
an excuse.
Me. Yeah.
I just got this job. I need to buy some new clothes. Can you send me some money? Blah, blah, blah. While he's doing this, he's checking car handles to find an open car.
Typical addict
something.
talk.
Yeah. Desperately looking for a way to get a fix. He ends up finding a car that's open, so he takes some items, takes it to a pawn shop.
Little girl's stuff.
Yeah, a bunch of, like, a little girl's tablet and headphones and iPhone, something like that. Pawn shop owner doesn't want it. He said, this stuff won't sell. I don't want it. James again, desperate for money, look for another way to get some cash. This is when Paul finds him trying to break into this business. After dealing with Paul, getting a shiner, he's walking around town again, and he ends up coming across the neighborhood where Alex's home is. In the front driveway, he sees a car parked, but he sees that there's a bunch of newspapers that have just accumulated there.
He's like, oh, no one's home. Let me steal some shit.
Bingo.
Yeah.
So he breaks into this house because it's all the windows are papered over.
Yeah, so like, it must be abandoned. Yeah.
Great. Starts rifling through stuff. And whoa, that's when he notices there's two people sitting on the couch.
Jesus Christ, where did these come from?
Yeah. But he realizes as much as he talks to them and interacts with them, they're not doing a damn thing.
They just sit there. Yeah.
Completely unreactionary. So he's like, I'm just going to take all the shit I want. As he's maybe about to leave, he walks past the basement door and he's like, well, let me check this last room, right? So he looks down in the basement and sees the kids. Sees a whole bunch of kids in the basement.
Missing children that were
never seen again.
Never seen again?
Yeah, that never came back. Okay, point. You can still assume maybe they'll never come back. Maybe in the end, they'll all end up dying.
Yeah, sure, fine.
I hate to say, Leia, I can only hope at this point all the children die by the end of the film. I know that sounds callous.
It's terrible.
But that's the only way to make that sentence true.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, shit. Because as he's coming to the top of the stairs, the parents get up off the couch and chase him out. He goes back to the pawn shop, but while he's going through this transaction, he notices there's the missing poster for the 17 children. $50,000 reward.
All of a sudden, a little light goes off. He's like, well, fuck, I just solved a mystery.
Yeah. Evil mastermind hands rubbed together. So he calls the tip line and says, hey, look, I don't like police stations. I don't want to have to come down there. Is there any way I can do this? And they insist, no, you got to come down to the police office to make your statement. So he does. That's when Paul sees him.
That's where you left off with Paul.
Right. So now we see the continuation of that. So Paul chases him across town. James runs away to the woods. He's thinking he's in the clear now. Kind of lost him in the woods. And that's when he sees a woman with big poofy red hair.
Mm-hmm.
A really tacky looking outfit, like a
she
90s,
tacky.
90s style outfit maybe. Kind of some really gaudy makeup on.
It was scary enough that he swears he's probably tripping or something. Like, what the hell?
Yeah, Gladys, this woman, is a very ominous, creepy looking image. Sure. Okay, I get it. So he takes off running and zips himself into his tent. And then there's noise at the tent. We find out this is Paul with a shotgun.
Well, he opens the tent and James stabs him with all those needles.
James.
Again, but a whole bunch of them. And he's like, mother.
Yeah. So Paul, he's worried about being stabbed earlier and the possible transmission of disease.
20 needles in his arm.
Stabbed again in the face. And
it was in the face, too.
Yeah,
that's
right.
Oh, my God.
So James says, hey, wait. I know where the kids are, the missing children. I know where they are. And Paul calls him a liar. He's like, no, you don't.
Yeah, you lie. You say anything.
Yeah. He's like, I'll show you. Paul takes him into custody, puts him in the back of the cruiser. One of the first things he says is, do you have AIDS?
Yeah.
And James is like, what? Like, do you have AIDS? You stabbed me in the face, and I got stabbed by the finger, and the kid's like,
as far as I know, I don't.
Yeah. So,
but this is where I'm getting to, I'm like, oh, they're going to the house. Yeah. Great. Well, so this is, you know how that's going to end.
Yeah. So they go to the house. James is stuck in the backseat of the cruiser, cuffed. Paul goes in, and time passes. Hours and hours. It goes night, and James is still in the backseat, and he's freaking out. He's like, come on, what the hell is going on? All of a sudden, the door opens, and Paul power walks to the cruiser and drags James
Opens
out.
It up, yep.
So now we cut away again.
Yep, that's where we leave them.
And we go to Marcus. Marcus is at the grocery store talking with Justine. Marcus, the principal.
Yes.
Yep. He's talking to Justine on the phone, a one-sided conversation we heard from earlier when she was talking about after she had intruded upon Alex's house. And then we go back to Marcus's office where that woman with the orange hair and the face paint, and she introduces herself as Gladys, Alex's aunt. And she says, I'm his aunt. They're very sick. I'm there to take care of his parents. They're very ill.
She's acting very sweet.
Yeah, she's
nice.
very sweet.
She's very strange looking, but you're like, all right, some people are a little kooky.
It's super
fine.
Eccentric.
But you can't help but notice she's got the red hair and the red lipstick.
Yes.
Yeah.
Marcus says, I really need to talk to his parents. I'm sorry. I don't want to have to get the authorities involved. And Gladys says, no. It's don't call the authorities. I'll talk to the parents. They just can't leave the house right now. They've got a touch of consumption.
Just a touch.
Just a touch. And Marcus is like, oh, I'm sorry, what? Consumption? Is that like tuberculosis? But she says, oh, it's nothing. It's not even that serious. It's just a touch of consumption.
Yeah.
So obviously, as a viewer, you're like, she's just making shit up.
Yeah.
Okay? We get another scene of Marcus back at home, relaxing with his boyfriend. And their peace is interrupted by the front door knock. So he goes and checks it out. And there's Gladys out of breath. Like,
oh my God.
I missed my bus and I took the wrong turn. And
I just need help.
I came all across town to come here. Why would she go there?
Yeah, that's what he's thinking too. He's like, why are you even here?
Yeah, she would have no idea where he lives, right? The boyfriend hears
this poor woman. Yeah.
She goes, I just need some water. And Marcus is like, no, I think you need to leave. And the boyfriend's like, no, don't be silly. Of course, come in.
Yeah.
Marcus, give the woman some water.
Yeah.
And she walks in and instantly she's like, oh, I love the house and this decor and this. Oh, it's so sweet and nice. I love it.
Yeah, she's not out of breath anymore.
No,
and she's just being all like nice. And it's weird.
So they all walk into the kitchen. The boyfriend says, Marcus, get the woman a glass of water. And she goes, oh, a bowl. And Marcus says, a bowl? And she says, yes, it's a silly eccentricity. I don't even try to make excuses for it anymore. One bowl of water. So he brings her a bowl and she starts questioning, like, so you haven't called the authorities yet, right? And who made the anonymous report? And Marcus says, I can't tell you who it was, but no, I didn't call. Then she starts taking things out of her bag. She takes out this kind of thorned stick. She takes a ribbon that was hanging in Marcus's office. And Marcus even says, wait, is that my ribbon? Now he's getting really suspicious.
He's like, what do you have that for? You stealing shit from me?
And then she pulls out a pair of scissors and walks over to the boyfriend and snips off a lock of his hair. And now the boyfriend is finally distressed.
Yeah, he's like, holy shit.
Marcus, I think she just cut my hair.
Yeah.
And Marcus starts, I'm going to call the police. And she really calmly, she just sort of wraps the hair around the stick and she cuts her hand open. And Marcus is like, what the hell are you doing? She's like, oh, it's
Can you imagine
bleeding.
watching all this? I mean.
Yeah. As she does this, she rings this bell that she had taken out. And Marcus instantly stops what he's doing. He drops the phone he was holding. And the boyfriend's still freaking out. But Marcus is completely still. And she winds the hair around the stick.
The boyfriend's
that she had just snipped, and she breaks the stick. And Marcus just maliciously attacks his boyfriend, just violently.
Killing him.
Tackles him. First he vomits this black, thick substance all over his boyfriend and starts head bashing him over and over and over until he's dead. So Gladys sort of calmly starts cleaning up her business.
She starts cleaning it up, like it's nothing.
And she drops the broken in half stick into the water and Marcus just stops.
Yep.
And then she takes a shock of blonde hair out, which we assume is probably Justine's Gandy's hair.
Yeah.
Wraps that around the stick and then snaps that. And then Marcus
takes off. Running.
Out the front door.
Which then you start to get the idea, the impression, because he's covered in blood. That's when he ends up at the gas station.
Right.
To get Justine next.
Yes.
Yeah.
While Marcus is running away, Gladys just packs up all her things and leaves. Calm as can be. Gets in her car. As we see her drive away, Marcus is running down the street. All across town. Looking the way he does, covered in blood, looking real disheveled, eyes popping out. People are freaking out about the fact that this guy is running through town. He's running through baseball fields. He's running through businesses, running through front yards. But nobody calls emergency services, apparently.
Nobody.
This now sets precedence. People can see the people that are being ensorcelled.
Ensorcelled?
It's like people that are under the spell of a witch or a sorcerer or wizard.
Okay, in case you didn't know what that word was, ensorcelled is the word of the day, okay?
So people can see these ensorcelled people. It's not like they're invisible. They're leaving a trail all across town. Now we know there's precedence for this. Now we see him descend upon Mrs. Gandy while she's in this gas station. That big scuffle that we saw earlier that ended pretty abruptly. He chases her into the convenience store. She gets away because Archer tackles him. She gets in her car, drives away. He starts chasing her down the street on foot. Archer follows behind in his car and he sees as Marcus crosses intersection.
Bam!
A car just comes out of nowhere and runs Marcus over, killing the man completely. Now we get to the hospital. Archer's being patched up. Mrs. Gandy is in the waiting room. They chat a little bit. You would think possibly law enforcement want to talk to these people.
You would think.
That they'd maybe be held for a few hours and
especially with everything that's gone on and 17 kids being missing.
And her being under suspicion.
They already fucked one up. Why would they fuck another one up?
Yeah.
You know?
So it seems odd that they're not taken in to be
it's no wonder they fucked
by
this
the
investigation
cops, right?
up.
The cops in this town are really, really terrible. Anyway, these two are getting along now because I think Archer understands, okay, Mrs. Gandy's on the short end of this too.
Yeah.
So let's combine forces.
Let's team up.
So he says, hey, I've seen the way Marcus ran it. You have seen that before. The children who ran away, they were doing the same pose. And look at this. I got this map and I drew these lines here. And she goes, oh, whoa, the place you circled in that circle is Alex's house. So they decide, okay, let's go stake out Alex's house again because apparently that's the thing we do. Continue to stalk this child.
Yes.
So now we get a cutaway to Alex's side of the story. So we see Alex in class before the events that happened.
Yep.
Mrs. Gandy's teaching, he's learning, kids are picking on him. His dad picks him up. His dad's super nice guy.
Nice, sweet,
hey, sport, how was school? Hey, just so you know, tonight's the night. Aunt Gladys is coming to stay with us for a while. She's sick. She's got nowhere else to go. It's just for a little while.
Yeah.
So that night, Alex kind of peers out his bedroom window and sees Gladys, this infirmed old woman, kind of walking into the house. Dad's carrying this giant potted plant.
Oh, a potted plant that looks kind of like the sticks she was breaking earlier? Because that's what it looked like to me.
The following day, Alex kind of peeks into the room that she's staying in, and he sees a couple of wigs on the little mannequin heads, and he sees the potted plant and this very ill Gladys in her bed. Oh, he gets startled a little bit, shuts the door, goes away. So the very next day in school, Alex gets picked on by kids, but this time Dad doesn't pick him up at the end of the day. So he walks home. At home again, Alex sees his parents sitting quietly at the table. Gladys walks into the dining room. She's exuberant. She's full of life.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, how was school?
Not sick, like she was before.
Doesn't look terribly sick at all. Alex talks to his parents, and his parents answer him, even though everyone else, when they've been brought into the spell, they can't seem to talk or react. But the writers forgot about it, so we will too.
Maybe she was allowing them to have a conversation.
Maybe. Alex wakes up. The parents are still at the table. Gladys is sitting there.
Still sitting at the table.
And she, very serious and stern this time. She says, sit down. We need to talk. He does so. And she says, now, you need to promise not to tell anyone about me or the state your parents are in. Because check this out. So she pulls out the stick and she pricks her finger and rubs it on the stick with the hair wrapped around it. And she snaps the stick. And both parents pick up forks and start just jamming it into their faces.
It's
over and over and over again.
Hard
it's really,
to watch.
really hard to watch. Alex has tried, Dad, stop. Just really.
That's the part that was hard to watch.
Yeah.
Was this little kid watching their parents, do this to themselves.
Then Gladys puts the sticks in the water and they stop. And Gladys says, now, you've seen what I can do. I can make your parents hurt themselves even worse. I can make them hurt each other.
I can make them eat themselves.
I can make them eat each other. So don't tell anyone about me or your parents. Do you promise? He promises.
After he peed his pants.
Right.
Jesus.
Which, justified from his perspective,
Absolutely.
He's a fucking child, of course.
I wouldn't tell anyone either.
Right. So he's going through his daily motions. One day after school, Gladys tells him he needs to feed his parents soup because they can't feed themselves.
You need to start feeding your parents.
Right.
If you want them to live.
Gladys says now she's appearing much more sick again. She says, now, I thought your parents might be able to fix me, make me better, but they're not able to do so. But I think you might be able to help me. He goes, if you get better, though, will you leave? And she goes, yes.
Absolutely.
If I get better, I'll leave. So you need to go and get a personal item from everyone in your class and bring it to me. Again, I don't fault this child because...
You can't fault a child for doing something under duress.
He's being abused at home, figuratively and literally and symbolically. Mm-hmm. Again, symbolism for an alcoholic in the home. Mm-hmm. Hey, don't tell anyone about what happened. All that sort of thing.
Shit out of you,
I get it from an alcohol perspective. Totally understand. So he brings all these items to Gladys. He takes the name cards of every student from his class. Then we see Gladys preparing this ritual, using the children's items and doing these hand motions and ringing a bell. They open the front door of their home, and you see from all across town these children running down their street. Again, no other cameras caught them, whatever. All these children enter the house.
Nobody saw all of these children.
Nobody saw
all
this.
17 of these children.
No other cameras.
Running toward the same house.
Statistically, none of these children lived on the same street or nearby or whatever. Okay, fine. Maybe it's a bigger town than we thought, but whatever.
Witch cloaking.
Now we get sort of a montage of the after effects of this. We see Alex and Gladys kind of working together to hide the children while investigators look at the house. They manipulate the authorities when they're questioning the parents. You get to see Alex kind of feeding the children just like he's feeding his parents. And then one day after school, he arrives home to find Paul, the police officer, standing there motionless in the dark, as well as James standing there motionless in the dark. Ensorcelled.
Yep, ensorcelled.
And Gladys comes downstairs and says, Alex, pack your things. We're leaving tomorrow. And then she says, don't cross the salt.
She's got salt across her door.
Lines. Yep.
Yeah.
But outside, we see Archer and Mrs. Gandy staking out Alex's house in their car, which is where we left them previously.
And they see the police car outside.
They see the police car outside. And Paul exits the house and stands just outside the door and waves at them.
Like to come in, though.
Yeah, like a come in wave.
Yeah, beckons them.
Yeah.
Very awkwardly.
And then he walks back inside, leaves the door open. Justine's like, that's Paul. And Archer's like, you know that man? She's like, yeah. So they both go inside. And inside this darkened house, James, the druggie from before, attacks Archer, and Paul assaults Justine Gandy. Now, Alex, hearing all the commotion he sees his parents standing stoically outside Gladys's door, and he crosses the salt line. He taps his toe on the other side, and then his parents start booking it after him. So he runs through the house. His parents are chasing him, making a mess of the place while there's a big tussle downstairs. At some point, Justine grabs Paul's gun. while he's choking her out, she shoots him in the neck, which doesn't stop him. Then she shoots him in the head. So he dies. Mm-hmm. And at the same time, James pushes Archer through the basement door. And he kind of sees down the stairs.
That whole thing was kind of comical because he kept like pushing him and like he would fall down and like go unconscious. But then he'd get back up again and do the same thing. And he's like, come on. It's like 3 times he does that or something.
Archer, a big man, kind of just tosses James about pretty easily.
Yeah. But every time he gets back up, he's like, really?
He's like, really?
Stay down.
So finally, Archer can see down the stairs and see the children there. But he can't do anything about it because James is right on top of him trying to kill him. So Justine walks up from behind, shoots James in the head dead. Paul gets up and he goes down into the basement to search for his son.
It's sad because you're thinking, after you've seen the movie, you're like, those people would have probably been savable.
Yeah.
But because they were being crazy, they died.
Yeah. Archer goes downstairs to look at the kids and he's looking at each one calling out for his son. And in the dark, he sees Gladys, the sick-looking Gladys, appears out of nowhere and kind of scowls at him and reaches out and grabs a necklace off of his shirt. And then we cut again to Alex. And now he's managed to gather Gladys's magic sticks. And this is where Gladys, off-screen, must ensorcel Archer, because now Archer comes beelining at Justine and puts her in a chokehold. Alex is upstairs, takes hold of Gladys's magic implements, and he's got a thread of Gladys's real hair, not her wig, but her real hair. Mm-hmm. He pulled it out of one of the wigs, and he wraps it around the stick and breaks it, causing all of the children to come charging up the basement. And Gladys looks like, oh, fuck, and she starts running. We get this big... Yes. Exactly. We get that while these children chase Gladys through the neighborhood.
Yeah, like they're running, these people like having barbecues. Yeah. They're like, you know,
through homes,
mowing their lawn.
Windows, through doors, over fences.
Eating dinner and they're running through their house. Yeah. And people are like, what?
Which, cinematically, it's a fun scene to watch.
It was cool.
But the tone of it it was very goofy and silly. It would have felt right at home in a Sam Raimi film.
Yeah.
It would have been perfect.
Absolutely.
Like if this was an ending to a Sam Raimi, like drag you to hell.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Friggin' love it. Yeah. This is great. But in this film where it's been serious and darkly toned, and the trailer showed it to be a completely dark tragedy, you get this really comical ending. I don't think it plays well. Other people love it. Whatever. That's fine. Love what you love.
It was still nice that she got her just deserves at the end. That was nice.
The children literally tackle her and tear her apart.
I hope they have no memory
with their own bare hands. Now that she's dead, the spell breaks on everybody. So Archer lets Justine go. The parents stop,
like kneel down,
chasing Alex, and we see Justine walking through the house, and she finds Alex hugging his parents. Archer follows the trail of devastation that the children left behind them.
Literal trail.
And he finds all of them standing in this really unfortunate person's front yard.
Yeah, where there's just a blood splatter.
There's now a literal crime scene.
Where a person used to be. A witch.
Who the hell's going to clean that up? Your front yard's fucked.
Yeah, it is.
He grabs up his child and carries the comatose child home. Now we get narration once more. Alex's parents are still alive. They're in medical care. They're not with Alex anymore. Alex is now living with a different aunt, a very nice woman. Mm-hmm. All of the children have been reunited with their families.
And some have even been talking.
The students who, according to the opening narration, never came back, now all came back.
They're all back now, guys.
And some of them even started talking again.
Yeah, what the hell?
Okay.
Why would you even say that at the beginning?
Right. If the children would have never came back, I would have been a lot more happy with this.
Yeah.
But you lied to me from the promotionals. You lied to me less than 3 minutes into the movie. All you had to do was just not say it.
Because even all of the stuff about alcoholism and everything, totally cool. I think it's great. You still have to make a movie that doesn't lie to you.
You sold me a movie where children go missing and never come back. You gave me something completely different.
Yeah.
You and I had talked earlier and you were like, well, you know, they didn't come back the same. But the narration even says some of them even started talking again. Mm-hmm. They're regaining their personalities. So they are coming back the same. It might take time, sure. It's still a tragedy. It sucks that these children had to go through this. They're probably all traumatized. You sold me one movie, you gave me a different one. Yeah. I didn't like this film as a viewer. As somebody who tries to understand what this was written, like the intent that it was written for, I understand it from that perspective. I get it. The symbolism works for the most part. I think maybe an initial draft it may have worked better, and then they probably had to change some things. I'm trying to give the benefit of the doubt to the whole alcoholism allegory. I'm not going to go into explanations of what every character may have been, because that's not the purpose of this. This was the purpose of looking at this film from the viewer perspective, right? Not somebody who has all the this insight into Zack Krieger's life because I personally don't, even after listening to interviews, I don't have insight into his life. I can't speak for every symbolism or every idea. So from the aspect of a viewer, we touched on a lot of places where this fell down for me. And for you too. I've got a few things I'll talk about and you can let me know what you think. Instead of the cop being a potential love interest for Justine, because you know how I feel about romances.
I know, okay, yeah. Everybody does. I think everybody who listens knows.
Axe that romance. Completely just make them best friends. And instead of making him a dirtbag cop, make him the only cop who's still dedicated after this month to finding these children.
Yeah. He just kind of stumbles on that.
Yeah,
he wasn't even looking.
Have him end up being so devoted to this whole thing and then crossing paths with Archer, who Archer says, hey, I triangulated this, perhaps this area is where the kids have gone to. Have the cop then investigate the home, find the children in the basement, have him get a hold of Justine or Archer and say, whoa, the kids, they're here, which would then cause them to arrive at the home. So now you've got all the principal characters there at the home. You no longer need James at all. He's completely gone. That's 20 to 30 minutes of this movie that you have back to enrich these characters and enrich the story and the mystery and Gladys's story. Now you've also made this cop really sympathetic. Have him become under the spell of Gladys. Have him attack Archer and Justine while they're in the home. Maybe have the parents attack Archer, have him attack Justine. So now when she has to kill him, you as the viewer are also crushed because now you've seen a good man that she didn't want to have to kill because she is really connected to this person on a personal level. Now you feel bad for her having to do that and you feel bad for him having to die. And she no longer looks like the dirtbag who convinced a recovering alcoholic to drink. Not that he needed convincing, he was also complicit in that. But now you no longer have that complication. Now he's just a good person and she's just a good person. And now his death has meaning.
Maybe that was the whole purpose.
What, that none of their deaths has meaning because they're all dirtbags?
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah.
It's really pissing you off. So
yes.
It's working.
It is, very much so. That's just my thought on the whole thing.
But this is not a fix-it episode.
This is not a fix-it episode.
Even though Brandon's like, I really like you to fix A, B, and maybe C.
Get rid of James. Fix the cop. Now you've made the whole movie better. You've made it have purpose. You've made the deaths actually consequential.
You've fixed it?
I've talked about a movie. All right. I've gone on this too far.
Yeah, but do you feel any... Well, you don't feel any better.
I don't feel better. I wanted to love this movie so hard.
I know you did. And I remember when we walked out of the theater, how dejected you felt. You seemed like somebody just told you were getting Christmas presents, and then you walked in, and they're like, oh, just kidding, no Christmas presents.
I wanted to see a horror movie that was genuinely terrifying, and nothing about this movie was scary. I wanted to see a horror movie that had real consequence, because that's what the trailer told us was going to happen, and it had no consequence.
You were upset. You got something you weren't expecting.
Yes.
Yeah.
I feel like I've just been a big old bummer this whole episode.
I feel like you gave it more of a shot than I did, because I still hate this movie.
Maybe. Well, that was our thoughts on this, on weapons. Let's get out of this, because I'm sure everyone else is uncomfortable.
I'm not uncomfortable.
All right. Well, that's good.
Despite Brandon's anger, you should probably still go see it.
Still go see it.
Yeah.
Maybe you'll like it for what it is. I'm not going to say there isn't stuff to like about this movie.
No, because there is.
The premise is good, genuinely good. The acting is great. If you want to see a movie where there's a bunch of unlikable... I like those kind of movies where it's a bunch of unlikable characters and they all suffer shitty fates.
Yeah.
I love that kind of movie.
Well, now you know that's the kind of movie that this is.
Right.
So don't expect any less, any more.
Right.
You know what I mean? Let's wrap it up.
We're wrapping it up. Thank you for joining me today, Leia. Thank you for listening
Brandon.
to me rant for forever.
You know, I've been doing it for how many years now?
Too many.
Yeah, a lot.
25,
25
right?
years. Yeah. It's okay. I'm still here for it.
If I'm anything, I'm a ranter.
You are. Especially when you're passionate about something.
Thank you, everyone, for listening to us. If you sat through it this far, if you didn't get tired of me so soon to shut me off, we will be back. We will be back next week with a Leia pick because next week is actually Leia's birthday. Yeah. The 29th.
The 29th
so she
September.
Chose for us to have a What You Did Say about
Sisu.
I'm
so excited.
A fun movie where we can talk about a one-man army versus Nazis.
Pretty sure it's in my top 10, so I'm super excited about it. Yeah.
I can't wait to talk about that one. Thank you all for joining us here this week, and we will see you next week for more of
The Movie Theater Lobby.
Bye.
Bye.